It is Monday, April 6th, and you're watching the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process. As teased in a previous show, today we will dissect whether or not the Montreal Canadiens can realistically hope to win the Stanley Cup this season. We've done the exercise, we've crunched the numbers, and we're going to break it all down right here. We're also going to talk about another last-minute coaching change in the NHL and what that means for that team. And, of course, we have a mailbag question in the queue. It's going to be a good show, as always. And it all starts right here, right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The sickest NHL prospect podcast with Snake and Shayne.
With the 5th overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Montreal Canadiens are proud to select Ivan Demidov.
It's gonna be sick.
All right, producer Shayne here, joined as always by my co-host Simon, the Snake Boisvert. Snake, how are we feeling today?
I'm good. I'm well rested.
Excellent. You enjoyed the long weekend?
Well, yeah. Well, I always watch hockey and have that kind of obligations, but I didn't go on any scouting trip, so that was good. Because next weekend, I'm going to Boston.
Oh,
yeah.
What's going on in Boston?
Well, there's a showcase for New England players, and I think 40 of them are supposed to show up, and there's a couple of games, and QMJHL scouts will be there. And we're all staying at the same hotel, so maybe we'll get to talk to the players. We want to bring American players to the Q next year, and that showcase is one step forward.
That's it. With the new agreements and all that, there's going to be a whole lot more interchange going on. So growing the game of hockey is never a bad thing. Hopefully you enjoy your time in Boston. Hopefully the amenities are a little better than in Green Bay, but we'll leave it at that.
Well, I'm going to go with my girlfriend. So obviously we're going to have do a couple of things in Boston because there's two games, but in between, I mean, you can always take the car and go downtown. So and we're leaving on Friday.
Red Sox game in. That'll be nice.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I have to check the schedule. I want to go see the Bruins against Tampa on Saturday, but I won't be able to because there's a scheduling conflict. So, but, we'll enjoy Boston. I always enjoy Boston when I go.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, we look forward to hearing about more of that.
Well, I can't really. I can talk about Boston.
Just your trip, then. Just your trip.
Yeah. Well, a general idea of the New England prospects, let's say.
There you go. But for today, Snake, this is the big one. Okay, we've been teasing this one, and we're gonna dissect in depth, okay, whether or not the Montreal Canadiens can actually win the Stanley Cup this season. And we're going to use all sorts of comparables to really come to a conclusion at the end of the exercise. But Snake, the reason why we're even having this discussion, the Montreal Canadiens are 6th in the NHL right now.
Mm-hmm.
They've got 100 points. They've clinched a playoff spot. They are among the top teams in the league. So, again, that's why we're having this discussion. That's why we're doing this exercise. So,
in 1993, by the way, they finished 7th overall. Obviously, it was a big surprise for those who are old enough to remember the last Stanley Cup. It was, I would say, a major surprise that the Habs won. But maybe we can do a parallel between those two teams.
I think this is the point of the exercise, right?
I think in certain aspects, the 1993 Habs were stronger, but in certain aspects, the 2026 Habs are actually better. So maybe we can do a parallel, even though it's two different eras. Mm-hmm. I mean, goaltending is goaltending, defense is defense, scoring is scoring.
Exactly. So look, we're gonna factor in all sorts of metrics, all sorts of comparables to really try to come to the best conclusion possible. And of course, stranger things have happened, right? We might say that, hey, the Habs probably won't win this year, and they end up winning. That's hockey for you, okay? But we're going to try our best to give you an idea of whether or not they can actually contend this season, okay? To do so, I've prepared a few graphics, and it's only a few graphics, right? We could go really in depth and look at the advanced stats and compare all of that stuff, but really we'd be here for about 3 hours. So we're going to condense it a little more. We're going to look at the big picture, okay? And we're also going to compare apples to apples, right? So we're going to look at, well, I took a look at the regular season of the Stanley Cup champions, of the last 5 Stanley Cup champions, comparing those to the current regular season for the Montreal Canadiens. And we're going to start with position groups, okay? The first one being a number 1 center. We all know if you want to win the cup, you need a cup caliber number 1 center. So in 2025, Alexander Barkov had 71 points in 67 games. That's an 87-point pace, right? We can say he's a number 1 center. In 2024, again, Alexander Barkov had 80 points in 73 games. That's a 90-point pace. No debate here. Barkov is a number 1 center. 2023 was Jack Eichel, right? He had 66 points in 67 games. That's an 81-point pace. No debate here. Number 1 center. 2022, Nathan McKinnon, 88 points in 65 games. That's a 111-point pace. Yeah, he's all right. 2021 was Braden Point, 48 points in 56 games. That's a 70-point pace, but I think we can agree, Snake, he's a number 1 center. Nick Suzuki this season is on pace for 103 points in 82 games. Do we agree that Nick Suzuki is a number 1 center on a cup contending team?
Yeah, that's been a major topic of discussion for me on all my podcasts and radio shows, where I always have this controversial take that what is a number 1 center?
Mm-hmm.
And I think there is a difference between a number 1 center and an elite all-world center. And the elite all-world centers are not a dime a dozen. Like, for instance, to me, Braden Point, yeah, of course he's a number 1 center. But is he an all-world center? In my book, no. So you see how difficult I am. I'm very, very picky. Barkov, McKinnon, of course they are. Elite, you know?
Yeah.
Jack Eichel, I love Jack Eichel. I would say he might be, he's more than a number 1 center, let's say. But I find him maybe a little notch below elite. So you see where I'm going with this? I'm very, very picky.
Clearly.
So, of course, Nick Suzuki is a number 1 center. But is he like super elite, you know, top 5, 6, 7? My answer is no. I know he's having the best season of his career.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree that this year he's always been improving. And that is at some point he's going to regress. But, you know, that's the curve for a hockey player. But I think his progress was very, very steady since he started in Montreal at the age of 20. It's almost linear when you think about it.
It is, literally.
Yeah. And that's very rare because I did the exercise for my French podcast that comes out on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always linear. It's not as easy to predict. You know, let's say you take a guy like Tyler Seguin. Tyler Seguin, just giving you an example, he progressed, but at some point, it was really peaks and valleys.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Suzuki, he's been a straight line. I mean, anyone who did math, it's a straight line going forward.
It is.
So I think he's predictable, and he doesn't miss games.
No.
He does not miss games. He's reliable. So in that sense, yes, you can win the cup with Suzuki.
Okay.
But is he McDavid? Is he McKinnon? Is he Barkov? Is he Celebrini? To me, no. He's not spectacular enough. He's not, although he's very efficient and he puts points on the board. So yes, you can win the cup with him, but without necessarily considering him at the same level as a McKinnon, let's say.
So
I think it's pretty clear. Clear.
The purpose of this exercise is to determine whether or not the Habs can win the cup this year with Nick Suzuki as your number one center, can you win the cup this year?
Because you know what? Tampa Bay won with Point. And my opinion of Point is that he's no McDavid, he's no McKinnon, he's no Barkov, and they won with him. But there's another thing to consider, however, Shayne.
Absolutely.
I think it depends on the combo that you have, the 1-2 punch at center.
You read my mind.
This is the problem.
You read my mind.
Let's say you have Suzuki, and we talked at length about Robert Thomas.
Correct.
You have Suzuki and Thomas as your top two centers. That really, really makes it. Would you rather have this, let's say, and I don't know, I'm trying to think of recent history, like McDavid and I don't know who could be the number two center. I know that Draisaitl sometimes is the number two center, but he plays on the wing. Same with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. But let's say McKinnon and Ryan McLeod, okay? At the time, I remember. Okay, are you better off with Suzuki Thomas or McDavid McLeod? Do you see my point?
Yeah.
I'm thinking extremes here just to make a case for the fact that the 1-2 punch is very important. Now, the 1-2 punch in Montreal is Suzuki Kapanen.
So let's get to that because we've tackled the number one center, but my other graphic is the number two center because, Snake, we wholeheartedly agree that you need a solid 1-2 punch down the middle to even hope to win the cup. And as past winners prove, such is the case. In 2025, the Florida Panthers, and 2024, Florida Panthers had Sam Bennett. In 2025, right, he was scoring at a 55-point pace. All right, not bad. 2024 at a 49-point pace. Okay, but he's doing more than just that, right? Sam Bennett is a pretty good all-around player, and he ended up winning the Conn Smythe. So, pardon. In 2023, the Vegas Golden Knights got probably the best season of Chandler Stevenson's career. He was scoring at a 66-point pace. He was having a good year. 2022 now. Okay, this is going to be a trend, by the way. The 2022 Colorado Avalanche were on another planet.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they were unstoppable. Nazem Kadri was scoring at a 100-point pace. So they had Nathan McKinnon, who was scoring at a 111-point pace, and Nazem Kadri at a 100-point pace. Yeah, no one was beating them. And then, as you mentioned with your Braden Point example, in 2021, the Tampa Bay Lightning had Anthony Cirelli. Very good player. Again, he's only scoring at a 36-point pace, but he's doing so much more, right? This season, the number two center has been Oliver Kapanen since the start. He is on a pace of 40 points in 82 games. Now, if you're looking at it, well, hey, he's scoring at a higher pace than Cirelli, not too far away from Sam Bennett, but it's the rest, right? And again, I couldn't fit the rest in the graphic. But really, what else is he contributing aside from those goals that he, tap-ins around the net, right?
Yeah.
That's where things fall off, Snake.
Well, if you analyze those guys, Kadri, the 22 version of Kadri was an elite number two center, let's call it.
Yeah.
Okay. Cirelli, he does a lot on the ice, more than Kapanen. But in terms of production, I mean, you can't really rely on Cirelli for big production. To me, Cirelli, I always saw him as a 2.5. Not necessarily a number two center, more like a 2.5. He's better than the typical number three center. Yeah. But I don't see him as a bona fide number two center that you can rely on for offense, but he does other stuff. Now, who else do we have? Chandler Stevenson. I like Chandler Stevenson the year they won the cup. And again, I think for me he's a 2.5. But he's good. He's good. Bennett. Regular season number 3.
Yeah.
Elite number 2 in the playoffs.
Bingo.
That's the story of his career. So that's why Florida won the cup with Sam Bennett as the number 2 center, because Sam Bennett number 2 center during the regular season is not Sam Bennett number 2 during the playoffs. And that brings me to Kapanen. What will Kapanen be in the playoffs this year? We don't know. We don't have a sample.
Yeah.
Nick Suzuki 5 years ago, when they reached the finals, he was good in the playoffs.
Excellent.
So we know that he can perform in the playoffs. Last year, it was kind of so-so against Washington, but it was a quick series. The Habs hadn't made the playoffs in years. Let's forget about this one. So Nick Suzuki, we know he can perform. Kapanen, we don't know. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. I'm leaning more towards he won't.
Yeah.
Because I don't find him tough enough. And he doesn't do a lot besides these goals that he scores. And that's why we always talked about him as a number 3, a third line winger.
Exactly. So this is where there's the dichotomy, Snake, because all those players that we mentioned, you said, well, he's a 2.5, he's a 3 in the regular season. All of those players are centers.
Exactly.
The problem here is that Oliver Kapanen plays like a winger.
Plays like a winger. And he's a question mark for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because, a guy like, remember Kotkaniemi a few years ago? He had all these goals in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I mean, what if Kapanen, I don't know, let's say the Habs play 2 rounds, okay? And they play 12 games. Let's say he has 6 goals and no assists.
Yeah.
What will we say? Well, he contributed. He will have contributed. But Kapanen is the type of guy, he could have 6-7 goals in 12 games, and he could have 0. And no one would be surprised.
Yeah.
So because of it's all about opportunity with him. He's an opportunist. And when he has opportunities, you don't want to leave Kapanen in front of the net with the goalie out of position. It's no. And that's why he's going to score 25. But if he doesn't get the opportunities, he doesn't create them.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily, he plays with Demidov. Demidov is kind of the
driver.
The driver. He's not the center, but he's like the de facto center in a sense. So who knows what's going to happen with Kapanen? So I think he's kind of the wild card. I don't see this guy driving a line in the playoffs. I do not see it. But could he score goals? Not impossible.
That's it. So again,
we'll have the answer in about 3 weeks to a month. We'll have the answer, and maybe we can come back when the Habs are eliminated, or if they win the cup, we can go back and rediscuss that episode to see where we were right and where we were totally wrong. Yeah,
we're definitely going to do that because I mean,
and I think we're going to be right about certain points, and we're going to be wrong about certain points.
That's it. That's the whole point of the exercise is that once we have our answers, we'll be able to look back and see, okay, well, the center position was deficient in the end. And look, I watched the Laval Rocket playoffs last season, and Kapanen was a part of that team.
Yeah.
And I was not impressed. Didn't generate much of anything, really. So look, again, anything is possible. As a rookie, he's having a good season. Like, that's undeniable.
Yeah.
But can you win the cup with Oliver Kapanen this year as your second line center? I think we both agree that answer is no.
I think he need extraordinary performances by Suzuki, Dano, Evans, and by ricochet Demidov to compensate. Because it's a whole. I always talk about the defensive units, and we're going to talk about the Habs defensive units. Mm-hmm. Sometimes what matters, and we start with Florida, is not necessarily the number 1 guy.
Correct. Yep.
There's no Cale Makar in Florida, but from 1 to 6, it works, or it worked.
Well, Snake, your transitions today are on point because we're going to the D next. Okay, we're gonna skip winger. We're gonna circle back to winger. Okay, But let's look at number 1 defenseman. Okay, this is a construct, an idea that you need a number 1 clear-cut defenseman to win the Stanley Cup. And the Florida Panthers, 2 years in a row, have proven that such is not the case. Because last season, their number 1 guy was Aaron Ekblad up until Seth Jones came around. But, before then, Aaron Ekblad was scoring at a 48-point pace. That's fine.
It's fine.
It's just fine. In 2024, their number 1 guy, again, was Gustav Forsling, scoring at a 40-point pace. Now, the thing with the Florida Panthers is that they could roll 3 pairings, and all 3 pairings could hurt you, right? Now, 2023, you know what? The Vegas Golden Knights did have, I think we could agree, a number 1 guy in Shea Theodore. He was scoring at a 61-point pace That's
Not
pretty good.
elite, not elite, but number
No.
one. Yeah.
But they also had Alex Pietrangelo, right? So it's like that 1-2 right there, pretty good.
Yeah.
2022, again, this is the trend we're talking about. The Colorado Avalanche were unstoppable. Cale Makar was scoring at a 92-point pace. Okay, that is just outrageous. And in 2021, Victor Hedman, still in the prime of his career, unbelievable defenseman, scoring at a 68-point pace. He was the number one guy. Lane Hutson this season is scoring at an 80-point pace over 82 games. He is obviously a number one defenseman. He's carved out that role. But Snake, we're talking about the rest as well, okay? Now, I don't have the rest on the graphics, but it's the depth on defense. Can Noah Dobson be that number two? Can Mike Matheson take on those minutes and be that reliable guy? Caden Gooley, Jaden Struble, Arbor Jackai, Alex Carrier, the list goes on. So what do we make of the defense? Do the Habs have enough to win the Cup?
Again, you have to go from 1 to 6. And I think we did that exercise last week for the Habs. Hudson Dobson as a 1-2 punch to me is great.
Perfect.
Okay. It might not be Makar Taves, but it's very good. It's excellent. Hedman at that time was an elite defenseman. The other guys, Theodore to me, good number one, but not necessarily elite. Forsling and Ekblad, again, they were like Sam Bennett. They performed in the playoffs more than during the regular season. Yep. But Florida, it was that from 1 to 6. My God. And then they added Seth Jones. So do the Habs have the depth that the Florida Panthers had the last couple of years? The answer is no. Because, they still have Carrier, Struble as 5 and 6. To me, that's not a strong 5 and 6 Cup winning team. 5 and 6. Madison Gooley 3 and 4. I always think that Madison perhaps plays a little bit too much.
Should be 5
to be efficient, and that's the issue with these guys. But the number 1-2 punch is great. Will that be enough? I'm not so sure.
Yeah,
I'm not so sure. Gooley's good. I think, he's a good defensive player. Madison plays a little bit too much. 5 and 6 to me is not strong enough. If you compare with Cup winners, you have to compare it with Cup winners.
That's the point of the exercise, right?
Yeah.
Hudson, they've made the playoffs. They're a playoff team.
Well, one might argue that Hudson doesn't play in all situations. That's true. But when he's on the ice for the 20, 22 minutes that he's on the ice, he creates so much.
That's it.
That he generates so much offense. So he's gone beyond, the smallish offensive defenseman who's good. You like having him. No, he controls the game when he's on.
He does. Yeah.
So okay, they don't use him. Let's say when the Habs are winning by 1, and it's 6-on-5. That's true. But look, to me, it's no debate. So I think at the top, they're top heavy. In the middle, it's okay. 5 and 6 is weak.
There you go.
Does that make sense?
I agree.
We're talking winning the Cup here.
No, exactly. That's the point of the
I'm
exercise.
not saying that Carrier Struble is the worst pair in the NHL. I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that we're talking about Cup winning teams. And anybody who watches, and I've noticed this every year, fans will watch their favorite team during the regular season. It could be the Habs, it could be the Leafs, it could be, any team, the Boston Bruins. And they're kind of all excited because their team is good. And the Habs are very, very good this year. They're 6th in the league. And you see these nights, where, Slavkovsky has 4 points and Suzuki has 4 points and Caulfield has 3 goals. And you're thinking, wow. But come playoff time, those who keep watching, because not every fan keeps watching when their team is eliminated. We see it, the ratings speak for themselves.
Yeah.
And at some point, every year, I hear people telling me, let's say Florida plays Edmonton, or Colorado plays Tampa Bay, or Vegas plays whoever, Florida, I think. Fans would tell me, oh my God, the Habs were so far from the Stanley Cup when you think about it. But the Habs are better this year. But I think you know what I'm saying. Every year it's the same thing. Or a fan, let's say, of, I don't know, the Toronto Maple Leafs would say, oh my God, the Leafs didn't have the depth that Florida had. But during the regular season, when you see Matthews with 3 goals and Nylander with 4 assists, you're thinking, hey, the Leafs have a chance at the Cup. But really, when you look at the Stanley Cup Finals, you realize that they didn't.
That's it.
So I'm thinking the Leafs and the Habs as an example. It could be, could be anybody, any other good team. It could be Dallas. It could be Winnipeg, whatever. So I think this is the idea. You always have to remember try and remember the games in the finals last year. Try and remember how Florida played.
Yeah.
And try and project the Habs in that same situation this year. Those tough battles, 4 rounds of hockey.
Yeah.
And they ran out of gas. Look at the Panthers this year. They had injuries. They ran out of gas.
For sure. It's to be expected.
They couldn't even get the number 1 pick if they win the lottery.
No. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. No.
But you know what I mean. but it's mathematically possible.
I know.
Because the choice that is being traded, I think, is top 10 protected or something. So that's how I always try to analyze any team I analyze. I try to not analyze them in a bubble, but more as part of the NHL.
Yeah.
And very often, I think we get carried away with the performance of certain teams. And then it's like, okay, how does it compare to the Panthers last year?
Mm-hmm.
And this year, there's going to be new Panthers.
Yeah, there will be a new champion.
And next year at this time, we're going to say, how did they compare with fill in the blank? Could be Colorado. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, it's going to be interesting to follow. And by the way, I want to remind everybody that we will be covering the NHL playoffs. We're going to be giving our thoughts on the series, on our predictions, all that good stuff. So don't forget, okay, this is the place to be for all things hockey, really. I mean, we're all over the place, but we cover what's,
because we talk about like anything, everything in the NHL.
Exactly.
It's especially on Monday, it's more Habs oriented, but we always try to make parallels with other teams and players because, like I say, the Habs don't play in a bubble.
No, exactly.
Okay, it's good to know your enemies.
Yeah, precisely. Now, we need to cover the wingers, Snake.
Yes.
And look, number 1 winger, I guess, is subjective to a certain extent, but I think we can agree that this year for the Montreal Canadiens, it's Cole Caulfield.
Yeah.
I mean, what a season he's having. But look, in 2025, I think the number 1 winger for the Florida Panthers was Sam Reinhart. And again, in 2024, but he's been pretty reliable, pretty solid player. 2025, he was at an 84-point pace. In 24, 94 points in 82 games. In 2023, Jonathan Marchessault ended up winning the Conn Smythe. He was scoring at a 62-point pace in the regular season. Once again, the Colorado Avalanche were unstoppable that year. Mikko Rantanen was scoring at a 101-point pace. Okay, just ridiculous numbers. And in 2021, Nikita Kucherov did not play in the regular season. I want to remind everybody, but he had 32 points in 23 playoff games.
Yeah,
over an 82 game span, that comes out to 114 points. So we know Kucherov is on, another planet, right? Cole Caulfield this season is on pace for 93 points and over 50 goals. Do we think the Montreal Canadiens can win a Stanley Cup with Cole Caulfield as their number 1 winger?
Okay, that's an interesting question because when you look at these guys, there's no one that really compares to Cole Caulfield. The closest would probably be Marchessault because he's a smallish player. But although Marchessault is a great goal scorer, I think Cole Caulfield is an elite goal scorer.
Yeah.
Cole Caulfield is what Sam Reinhart was during those 2 years. Except that Sam Reinhart was not always an elite goal scorer. Whereas Caulfield was always an elite goal scorer. The stats didn't always show because he was injured or things happened. But it's not the last time that Caulfield scores or flirts with the 50-goal mark. I think he has a few seasons where, the Habs are getting better. He has better teammates, line mates. I think Caulfield, as your number one winner, can do it. Now, is he as tough as what's the guy that you had for? You had Rantanen, you had Marchessault, you had Reinhardt. Oh, you had Kucherov. Yeah, is he Kucherov? No, he's not. He's not the playmaker that Kucherov is. He's not the line driver that Kucherov is. But he is an elite goal scorer. So if you go back, to yesteryear, I mean, you had a guy like Brett Hall, who was just a goal scorer, but what a goal scorer he was. And I remember I had a show about 5-6 years ago with the late Pierre Infray on the French radio station, sports radio station, 91.9. And I said, look, I'm not comparing those two in terms of production, because obviously more goals were being scored back in the day. But I said, Cole Caulfield, he's like a Brett Hall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fair.
And you can tell that that's what he's becoming. That's what he's becoming. All things, I know Brett Hall had an 86-goal season, but back in the day, I mean, there were no goalies. So, but Brett Hall was not really useful outside of scoring goals. But he was so useful scoring goals that, he
ended up lifting the cup.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think that's what it is with Cole Caulfield. Yeah. So there is a number one. And again, the depth is important. Do they have other...
This was the next part of the exercise, right?
Yeah, that's
so
very important.
You take a look at the Florida Panthers, right? Matthew Tkachuk, Carter Verhaeghe, Brad Marchand, right? The list goes on. With the Vegas Golden Knights, they Mark Stone, right? These really good wingers as well. Colorado Avalanche, they had good wingers. Same with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, the Montreal Canadiens, I think, have some solid wingers, but again, inexperienced. Juraj Slavkovsky's 22. Demidov is 20, right? Alex Newhook, however, has won the cup, so I'll give him that. But again, is he a top 6 winger? That's another question. So, I mean, Cole Caulfield, I think, is a number one winger. I think on a Stanley Cup contending team, I have no problem saying that. But
or let's call him the elite goal scorer, goal scoring winger.
Yeah, because number one winger is subjective. Yeah, I agree.
Some might say Slavkovsky is the number one winger on the Habs.
And Ivan Demidov might ultimately become
Ivan Demidov at some. I think Ivan Demidov at some point will be the Habs' best forward.
I'm there with you.
Within a couple of years, I think he's going to be the Habs' best forward. So, but let's say that Caulfield fits the niche of the elite goal scorer that most Stanley Cup teams have had over the years. Steven Stamkos was an elite goal scorer.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think that's
so that's the thing with the Habs. Do they have enough depth at wing? Albeit inexperienced, but still, they were in the playoffs last year, so it's good. It was those 5 games against Washington. I think they were a good learning experience. Look, Slavkovsky, Demidov, Caulfield, just with those 3, you can, you can play against the elite wingers of the team.
There you go.
Like Colorado, they have Nick Ash and Landeskog, and so you know what? I think it works. Now, the depth, I think it's okay. Newhook, Doc is always injured, so let's count him out of the equation. Kapanen, I consider a winger, if you want to consider him a winger. But Zachary Bolduc, I think these guys need to be bumped maybe one notch below before the Habs can say we have a complete group of forwards where everybody is in the right chair.
Correct.
I think Newhook is a third-line guy. I like him as a third-line winger, but he's a third-line winger.
He won the cup as a third-liner, right? Yeah. So that you already have your answer there. If Alex Newhook is on your third line, you can win the cup.
But if he's a full-time second-line player, I think it's a little bit. We're talking here Peter's principle.
Yeah.
Same with Bolduc. I think Bolduc is a third-line guy. He's not a second-line guy. I thought he was going to be a second-line guy at the beginning of the year, and his career is not over.
Who knows?
But for now, I think he's more of a bottom 6 guy. So the bottom six, Jake Evans and these guys, Philippe Danault.
Josh Anderson.
Yeah, Josh. Look, I think it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. The depth at wing is okay, but not necessarily cup worthy.
Yeah.
But but it's very top heavy. Slavkovsky, Demidov, Caulfield, to me, that's elite.
That's elite, and
do
it's
I
going
make
to
sense,
continue.
Do I make sense,
Yeah.
or
no, for sure.
Yeah.
Because we're focusing really on this season. Obviously, down the road, we know that Slavkovsky's going to be a monster. Demidov might take over as the best player on the team, right? So we don't really need to have those conversations. We're talking about this year alone.
Yeah.
It might not be enough, right?
No.
That's, I think, the conclusion we can make. The last position
that's a completion we have for every. It's not enough at center. It's not enough at wing. It's not enough at defense. So it's like it's almost there, but no,
it's almost there.
Yeah, but it's not there yet. Yeah,
great point. The last position group, Snake, the goalies. Okay, and the number one goalie, because all of the last 5 winners went with one goalie. Now, the Colorado Avalanche played Pavel Francouz. I think I pronounced that right. Francouz. I don't know. A little bit, but it was mostly Darcy Kemper. Okay, so look, in 2025-24, Sergei Bobrovsky, of course, was the guy. At 25, he had a 906 and a 244 goals against. In 24, he had a 915 and a 237 goals against. In 23, Aiden Hill was outstanding. He had a 915 and a 245. 22, again, the Colorado Avalanche were unstoppable. Darcy Kemper in the regular season had a 921. A 921, ridiculous numbers, and a 254 goals against. And in 2021, Andrei Vasilevsky, we know, he won the Conn Smythe. He was incredible. He had a 925 in the regular season and a 2.21 goals against. Now, the Habs are kind of running a tandem right now with Jakub Dobeš and Jacob Fowler, but we can assume that Jakub Dobeš is the number one guy because he's got most games and most wins as well. This season is at a 904 and a 273 goals against. So real quick, I mean, if you just compare with the last 5 winners, he's below, okay? Granted, he had a tough stretch in the season at one point. Now he's back on track. But again, not even his full second year in the NHL. All of those guys listed there are experienced, okay? When they won the Cup, they had some mileage behind them. Can the Habs win the Cup with the goalie tandem that they have right now today?
It's kind of rare that you're going to win the Cup with a rookie goalie, like the Habs did it with Patrick Roy in 1986. I think it's extremely rare, but goalies' performance is very unpredictable in the sense that they really stand out. I mean, if a winger doesn't play well, other wingers can compensate for his lack of production. But if a goalie doesn't play well, but the Habs, they still have Fowler. Fowler is the wild card. So if Dobeš starts the playoffs and he doesn't do well, you never know. You can bring him Fowler and he can do great. Now, the other guys, if you compare with the other guys, Aiden Hill, who the heck was he before he won the Cup? And who the heck is he now?
Yeah, seriously. It was just like a 1-year peak. And then
Bobrovsky, it was a tale of 3 careers. It was Bobrovsky at the top, getting the $10 million contract. It was just Bobrovsky being the backup goalie, the $10 million backup goalie. And then the things don't turn out well with Spencer Knight. They trade Spencer Knight. Bobrovsky is back, and he wins 2 cups at quite a late age. Vasilevsky, it's like Carey Price. It's like Dominic Hasek. It's like the great goalies of all time. They're not going to be perfect, but you know that if you're going to predict a series, you kind of know what to expect from guys like Vasilevsky. I mean, at the time, especially in 2021, you knew that Vasilevsky was going to do the job most games, just like Price did. And the other one, Darcy Kemper. I like Darcy Kemper. I always thought he was a little bit underrated. So when the Habs made his acquisition in 21, I thought it was a sneaky good acquisition because although he's not an elite goalie, he might not have had a Hall of Fame career. I thought that at the time, it was like, you know what? The Habs are so strong, it's good enough. Because what you want is a goalie who's not going to make you, when you have a very strong team that can play well, score goals, You don't necessarily need the guy to play like a Carey Price. And that was the problem with the Habs. The Habs, until maybe a couple of years ago, they always relied on the goalie. Okay, anyone under the age of 40 knows that the Habs' most popular player was almost always a goalie. You had Patrick Roy, José Theodore, Carey Price, Yaroslav Halak for one period of time in 2010. Now, the goalie, it's still important. It's an important position, but I think it's a little bit more secondary in the fans' thoughts. So you want Dobesh to do well. You don't want him to give him tons of bad goals. You want Fowler to do well. We saw this year with Montabo when he didn't play well. It really affected the Habs. So you don't want someone who's just going to give up like tons of bad goals. But if you think, well, look, just keep us in the game.
Yeah.
Just make the saves, and don't allow, any, too many bad goals, and we have a chance to win. And I think that was the thing with Darcy Kemper in 2022. Yeah. Are the Habs as strong as the Avs of 2022? No. So probably that they will need Dobesh to play like he's been playing in the last few weeks to have a chance. Will it continue? Did he peak too early? Look, we don't have data on Dobesh. He's a rookie goalie.
Yeah.
When you think about it, he's a rookie goalie. I know he played last year, but he's still eligible for the Calder Trophy. Might get some votes. Probably finish in the top 5. So to me, I cannot predict anything. Look at what happened with Halak in 2010, who was also a very young goalie. We older folks will remember Steve Penny in 1984, flash in the pan. I don't know. But we do know that the goalies need to at least perform well.
That's it. Yeah,
but we don't know if they're going to perform well. You can expect, that Slavkovsky is going to be a tough guy in the playoffs, and he's going to, that Demidov is going to make plays, but the goalies, you don't know.
Yeah.
Unless you have a Price or a Vasilevsky.
Yeah. It's so hard to predict, and it's
even
always been hard.
Even Connor Hellebuck wasn't good in the playoffs.
Hasn't been good at all.
Yeah, and he had won, the Vezina Trophy? And in general, Hellebuck has not been good.
Last season, he won the Hart. Like he was the league MVP. The Winnipeg Jets were the best team in the NHL,
and he was a stiff in the playoffs. Yeah.
Kakapui. Anyways,
and then wasn't he good at the Olympics? Or I'm trying to remember.
I'm trying to forget, Snake. I'm trying to forget. Okay. I don't want to remember that one.
Okay, Shayne.
It's still too fresh. It still hurts. But anyways, that'll do it for the position groups. However, before we move on to the rest, Snake, because I have 3 more graphics.
Okay.
There was a trend that I noticed while doing this research, and I'm trying to see if you picked up on it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Of I don't know if you noticed, but of all the position groups that I mentioned and all the top players of previous Cup winners, only one played a full 82 game season. Was Sam Reinhart in 2024.
Okay.
All the others did not play a full 82 games. Now, I don't know if that means anything, but there's too big of a sample size here to not question it a little bit.
Okay.
Do you think that getting some rest in the regular season, or some of these guys might have been injured, I don't know, but point is, they didn't play the full 82 games. Do you think that somehow has an effect, a positive effect for the playoffs?
Yeah, because I never did the exercise that you did, but I've always noticed, just scanning through the stats over the years, that Stanley Cup winning teams always had 1 or 2 key players either injured or kind of rested during the season. And look, even Vegas and Tampa Bay were accused of,
Kucherov didn't play a single game.
Yeah, playing with the salary cap, and that's why the NHL has that rule that every game teams have to conform to the salary cap. So you can go above the salary cap in terms of the whole roster that you keep, but the 20 players have to be compliant Their salaries have to be compliant. So yes, I do think so. And Vegas and Tampa Bay were masters at that. You see the Avalanche. They had Landeskog injured this year. He rested. Look, and I think where you're going with this is that the Habs pretty much all played a full season.
So Nick Suzuki has not missed a game this season.
But he never does. He never does. He never does.
Yeah, he never does.
Yeah.
Lane Hudson has not missed a game. Cole Caulfield has missed one game.
Yeah.
So of those top guys that we've mentioned, none of them have gotten any rest.
No, but there was the Olympic break for Hudson and Caulfield, which is good.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
So, Snake, we could get into another whole long discussion about this, but real quick, before we move on to the other graphics, the Habs have already clinched a playoff spot, right?
Yeah.
That's done. They're in. The strategy moving forward for them that you think would be best, would it be to just keep winning and try to win the division and try to win home ice advantage? Or rest some guys and maybe, just maybe, slip a little and potentially play the Carolina Hurricanes, who they've matched up better against?
Yeah. Trying to choose your opponent is a very, very tricky thing because you're it's very rare that you're going to be in full control of that. I think resting players would be the key, but there's a couple of things that you have to take into consideration. I know team first, Stanley Cup first, but Nick Suzuki is on the streak now.
Yeah.
You really want him to end the streak?
No.
As the Iron Man, as a future possible Iron Man? No, you don't want to end this. Cole Caulfield, as long as he doesn't score 50 goals, you play him. Once this is done, I would give him a break. Lane Hudson, I would give him a break. It doesn't matter whether he gets 76 points or 80 points or 82 points. Who cares? I would give him a rest. And so, yes, because you know what? Trying to choose your opponent, trying to win the division, home ice advantage, blah, blah, blah. Home ice advantage can be lost so quickly.
Yeah.
You lose your first game at home, you lost home field advantage. So, look, it's very tight. So you have to beat teams. So, okay, let's say you get Carolina the first round. Okay, you avoided Buffalo, but what if Buffalo wins? Then you have to beat Buffalo. You can't always count on 1993 when a lot of teams were eliminated, especially the Pittsburgh Penguins, which were a powerhouse. I would say stronger than the Avalanche this year, stronger than the Florida Panthers last year. They got eliminated. So that paved the way for the Habs to win the Cup. But you can't count on this. So the Habs, I think it's kind of open. There's no juggernaut in the Eastern Conference, but there are a lot of good teams. So the road is hard to the Stanley Cup. But at the same time, it's feasible because you're not facing a juggernaut.
That's it.
But you're going to have to beat 3 good teams to reach the finals.
Yep. That's going to be a gauntlet.
It's kind of a paradox, but I think you understand what I mean. It's the door's open, but it's also going to be hard to get there. So yes, I would rest Caulfield after he scores 50. I would rest Hudson, maybe some other guys, and Madison, maybe a game or 2. It doesn't matter. Then what if you lose a couple of games 6-1? I know, the confidence of the team. Yeah, but you know what? History has shown. I remember teams resting players towards the end of the season, getting clobbered, 7-1, and then winning the Cup. If we did a little research about the last 5-6 games of Cup winning teams, maybe the last 10-15 years, you're going to see that they lost games by a wide margin. It didn't affect their chances. It didn't affect their self-confidence.
Precisely. No,
come on.
I think
they're NHL professionals, and they had success this year. So what if half the roster is on the press box and they lose 6-1? It's like a preseason game.
For sure. And we've seen it, in recent seasons with the top teams who take advantage of the luxury of having clinched already, right? Mm-hmm. You're not in a position like, let's say, the Senators, the Islanders, the Flyers, all those teams who are still battling for it. You're in. You know it already. So take advantage of that fact.
And even Suzuki, you make him play because of the streak. Why wouldn't you just play like no? But 11 minutes. Why not?
Yeah. That's it. So it's going to be interesting to see what Martin St. Louis does, and we invite you all in the comment section as well. Give us your thoughts on which strategy the Montreal Canadiens should opt for the rest of the regular season. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the regular season, let's compare point totals with the previous winners. Okay. In 2025, the Florida Panthers finished with 98 points. Interesting. 2024, however, they had 110. 2023, the Vegas Golden Knights had 111. The 2022, Colorado Avalanche had 119. And in 2021, obviously, it was a shortened season because of COVID and all that. But the Tampa Bay Lightning were playing at 110-point pace. The Montreal Canadiens are projected to finish with 106 points this year, which is not far away from those Cup winners. Does that tell you anything?
Yeah, well, it does tell me that they belong. That's what it tells me. Florida Panthers at 98, I would put an asterisk because honestly, back-to-back Cup winners or traditionally strong Cup contenders for years and years and years and years. Very often, after they win the Cup, they're tired. It's like a hangover. They don't start the season very well. And then they just do enough to get ready for the playoffs. And I think last year, the Florida Panthers were the regular season was just a tune-up for the playoffs. Yeah. But, the first time they won, they had 110 points. The Knights had 111. The Avalanche, which was an outstanding team, 119. Tampa Bay, the pace, I remember it was COVID. Look, I understand the asterisk because it was strange the way they organized these divisions, and so it was strange, but still they won and they had a lot of points. So I think statistically, I think it's fine. The Habs belong. If they had like 88 points, I would be like, 88 points. You don't win the Cup with 88 points usually. I remember the Edmonton Oilers winning the Cup with 90 points, but at the time there was no bonus point for overtime losses. So probably they would have been close to 100. Yeah.
Now this is where it gets interesting, Snake, because we established that they belong, right? But goal differential to me is a great indicator of whether a team can win or not. Let's look at the goal differentials for previous winners. Now, again, the Florida Panthers you mentioned is an asterisk. They had a plus 23 goal differential. The year before, however, plus 67. Okay. The Vegas Golden Knights plus 42. Yeah. The Colorado Avalanche plus 70. And the Tampa Bay Lightning were on a pace to finish over an 82 game pace, plus 53. The Montreal Canadiens are currently plus 27.
Yeah. As I'm talking right now, I'm looking at the standings to see where the Habs are in terms of goal differential. And if you look at the Eastern Conference, Tampa Bay is at plus 66. This is, this is Avalanche 2022 territory. Carolina is at plus 47. Although I'm not crazy about Carolina, but we're just talking statistics here. The Sabres are at plus 35. The Penguins are at plus 30. And the Habs at plus 27. And in the Western Conference, you have the Avs at plus 91. 91. But in the Western Conference, it's kind of weird because you're probably going to have two teams, including the Ducks, who still won 41 games this year, who are at minus 14. Minus 14. And they're going to make the playoffs, which is rare. It's rare that a team is well seeded when they don't have a positive goal differential. So again, like I said about the forwards and the defense and the goaltending, and it might not be enough. Plus 27, I think it's not enough.
No. And look, there's a few more games left, but they're not going to get to plus 91.
No, plus 91 is like out of this world. But let's see, even like Vegas, plus 42. I think 40 is like a bare minimum.
That's it.
So,
That's it.
so that's why I always say the Habs are close, but they're not there yet.
And we mentioned with the Panthers,
but no one thinks they're going to win the cup. I mean, look, whatever happens. It's the playoffs. But I think no one realistically thinks they're going to win the cup. But if I was told that, let's say 3 years down the road, they don't get that goal differential up to 50, 40 or 50, then I would be surprised, because I think at some point they will.
Exactly.
My analysis of that rebuild, because I've been looking at rebuilds for years and years and years. This is probably what I prefer doing in hockey.
Yeah,
analyzing rebuilds. And my timeline for the Habs, and it's just a crystal ball. I mean, it's just based on previous rebuilds. If everything goes well, my previous timeline was Stanley Cup Finals in 2028.
I think that makes sense.
That was and maybe next year a Final Four, let's say, something like that.
And look, the plus 27 can also be debated, because Montembeault had some tough games, and that impacted as well.
I do agree.
Again, even with better performances, would they be that much higher? I'm not sure. Right?
I'm not sure either.
They would be in the 30s maybe, but again, it's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not
the
enough.
plus 91 is something else for Colorado. Oh, I know most of it was before Christmas, but still, they're going to be a strong team in the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay. Last thing I'd like to look at with you, Snake.
Yes.
Special teams. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot is being said about combining, right,
Mm-hmm.
the power play and the penalty kill, and you need to be over 100%. And this kind of proves it, right? The Florida Panthers 2025 were 104.3%. In 24, they were 106%. Now, the Vegas Golden Knights, however, were at a 97.7% combined in 2023. So, again, close to 100, not quite. Colorado Avalanche, 103.7. Tampa Bay Lightning, 106.4. The Montreal Canadiens are at 101.4. So it's not bad.
Well, obviously, the league average. Obviously, league average is 100.
Exactly. So, look,
obviously, it's mathematical. Yeah.
Yeah, the penalty kill has been criticized quite a bit this season, but again, your best penalty killer is your goaltender. We know that's been deficient at times this year, but the power play is among the best in the NHL when it's working. It's working. So, special team wise, they can compete with the best.
Yeah, and if they lose by a goal at the end of the game, they're pretty darn good at tying the score. The only thing that's not going to happen is a 3-on-3 overtime.
No, that's it.
And where the Habs are, if not the best, one of the best teams in the league at 3-on-3. They have the puck for the whole period, basically. Yeah. So, but this does not exist. So we have to consider that the 3-on-3 has to be wiped off our brain when we analyze overtime with the Habs. This does not exist. So at 5-on-5, then it's another ball game. But if they lose by 1 at 6-on-5, they're very good. So I would say that in that regard, I think they're right up there. It's not a concern.
There you go.
Yeah, the numbers prove it. It's a little bit below some other teams except Vegas. But in general, look, they're above 100%, so that's good.
So we've covered a lot of ground with this exercise, and there is so much more ground to cover.
Because it's all statistical when you think
exactly. We're just trying to compare and contrast and see if there are any indicators that the Habs could win a cup this season. But Snake, after doing this exercise, what is the conclusion that we can come to?
Not yet. No.
Not yet.
No.
But close. But
it's getting there. It's getting there.
Yeah.
It's a process.
And I think we've identified the deficiencies as well.
It's a process. And it's not like it's sometimes we talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs rebuild, which is like I wouldn't know where to start. I would not know where to start. And I consider myself a guy who's really studied rebuilds in the past, and I wouldn't know where to start. Whereas the Habs, I think you have to put the finishing touch. I think the finishing touch is more experience from the young guys. I mean, some guys are still going to improve. So, Demidov and guys like that, they're still going to improve. and also more grit and a more rounded bottom six, a more rounded group of defensemen. But adding these guys is, it's a difficult part of a rebuild, the finishing touch, closing the deal. It's like when you do sales, it's quite easy to get an appointment, with a potential client and do your presentation and everything. But when the client is like, I'm not sure, then you have to close the sale. So I think it's not easy, but it's feasible because the Habs, they're not depleted of picks. They're not depleted of prospects. So if they need to plug a hole here, let's trade this guy. We can trade this pick and do basically what Florida did, what Tampa did, what Colorado did. Look at Colorado again this year. They got Nazem Kadri. They got, who else did they get? Didn't they get a defenseman? I think Brett Kulak, So they're trying to plug in the holes. I think at some point that's what the Habs are going to do. They were not ready to do it this year. And I did agree. Some people were disappointed. They didn't do much at the trade deadline. I would have gone for Connor Murphy, like we talked about.
Yeah.
A few times. But aside from that, I would not have gone, for a Kadri and be stuck with his contract for 3 years, because I don't think a Kadri would have been the difference between winning the cup or not. For the Habs, it might be.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all in. We all know all these guys are going to be in their 30s soon. At some point, Colorado is going to be at the bottom of the standings in the 2030s at some point. But who cares? They can win another cup this year. Yeah,
go for it. They're
so that's my conclusion.
Yeah, I think that is the appropriate conclusion. And like I said, we could go on for hours and hours about advanced stats and compare and contrast and all that. But I think those are the big picture, right? And kind of understand a little bit where the Habs compare to previous cup winners, because that's really the goal, right? You don't want to be regular season champions. You want to be Stanley Cup champions. That might not come this season, but who knows? They're still in the discussion. That's why we're even having this exercise. Let us know in the comment section what you think, what other comparables you would look at, and if you think the Habs can actually win the cup this year. Snake, before we move along, of course, a quick word from our partners here at the Sick Podcast. Cheapest T-shirts. Got to give them a shout out. They've been with us since the beginning, and they are amazing. If you are looking for the cheapest prices on wholesale apparel in Canada, you will find them at cheapesttshirts.ca. They're proudly Canadian and trusted by thousands of customers from coast to coast. They deliver unbeatable value every day. You'll always get the cheapest prices plus same-day shipping and even next-day delivery, so your order arrives fast. Okay, Cheapest T-shirts, that is where you can enjoy free shipping, on larger orders, and a simple, easy-to-use website that makes online ordering a breeze. You can get the cheapest deals in Canada today at cheapesttshirts.ca. Another shout-out to our friends at Betway, where you can go all the way with Betway and to get a deposit match-up bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. Now, the offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. The offer is not available in Ontario, and you must be 18 years or older. Please play responsibly. Before we get to our mailbag question, Snake, I would love to get your thoughts on the New York Islanders relieving head coach Patrick Roy of his duties and appointing Pete DeBoer as his replacement. What do we think about this?
Well, there's a lot of speculation going around, and obviously none of what I'm going to say is firsthand information, so I really don't know what happened. But based on the past, we know that Patrick Roy has a certain philosophy about building a team and coaching a team. We saw it in Colorado. He got into, I would say an argument or a fight, whatever you call it, with Joe Sakic, his good buddy, who was running the team. I think Patrick Roy is made to be, he was an owner in the QMJHL. He ran the team his own way. He won 2 cups. And I think Patrick Roy is probably better off. He doesn't have he can't buy an NHL team. Okay, he's not rich enough. It's billions of dollars now. So I think Patrick Roy is probably better off being a junior hockey team owner and running the show, even at a lower level than the NHL, because at the NHL level, no one is going to give him the keys to a team.
Yeah.
He's going to have to compromise, especially if he wants to coach. And no one's hiring him as a GM either. Are they right? Are they wrong? I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I don't know him personally. But it's probably not for him to be an employee at the NHL level, although he loves coaching. Now, what happened with Dash, I don't know. I have no clue. What we could hear is that the Boer was available and they didn't want to miss out on the opportunity of hiring him, so it was more of a collateral victim. Other arguments was that Lou Lamoriello hired him a couple of years ago. Lou Lamoriello is still an advisor with the Islanders, and supposedly that the relationship had gone sour. But again, that's hearsay. Could it be because Mathieu Dash wanted to take a certain direction with the roster and Patrick didn't want to? Who knows? But one thing for sure is that Patrick has to be the ultimate boss. And in junior hockey, it worked out very well because he was the boss. When he's not the boss, obviously you know that there's a potential conflict. Look, I kind of relate to Hawaii in that sense, so I do get it.
Yeah, it's always interesting for me to see these late season coaching changes, and look, so far it's worked out for the Vegas Golden Knights. They're on a bit of a heater now, so I guess that's what the Islanders are hoping for. But Snake, look, aside from Matthew Schaefer's incredible performance and the goaltending, let's be real for a second here. Can the Islanders, like, they shouldn't even be a playoff team?
No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't. No Matthew Schaefer, no lottery win, no Islanders in the playoffs. So in terms of overachieving, I think they did. But did they overachieve because of Ross coaching, because of Schaefer's performance, because of goaltending, or all three? It's possible. But let's not forget that, Roy had not been hired by Dash, but he still has 2 years left on his contract. So before releasing a guy, it's millions of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
Now, will someone else probably call Roy? I don't know, because when he took the Islanders' job, not many people were knocking on his door. The Habs passed on him, and I don't think I think in order for Roy to be the boss in Montreal, whether it be the bench boss or in the office, in the front office, I think you probably would need another ownership to take over because they had opportunities to hire him. And let's not forget, Patrick Roy is 60. He's not 40. So I know, guys are in good shape and you can coach, for another 10 years or be a general manager when you're 80, like Lamoriello did. But still, time is running out for Roy to become, to get the carte blanche, to run the team.
That's fair.
So that's my take on it. Maybe he'll be back in junior hockey. I don't know. He's paid his dues. I mean, he was in junior hockey for so many years, riding buses, this Hall of Famer riding buses. I really admired this because I thought he was true to himself. He wanted to run his own team. And I feel the same way, honestly. If you gave me the choice between being an employee with not much power at the NHL level and running my own junior team, I would rather run my own junior team, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's your own vision.
Than being just a pawn in the NHL. And I'm not criticizing those who do. Some people love working in the NHL and not have too many responsibilities because they love working in the NHL. But a guy like me, I'd rather be a big fish in a small pond than the other way around. To each his own. To each his own.
I think that's fair. Well, I think that concludes that discussion. But it is time to dig in the mailbag. One question today, and this one is coming from Flyby Lewis. Hi, Snake. How do you like the season of Will Smith? I'm a big Sharks fan since 2009, and I think because he's already a point-per-game guy, he became sloppy with no aggressivity. Sorry, I'm French. But since they put him on the third line for one game last week, I saw a much better version of him. I think also with the fact that he's playing with Celebrini, it's good for his trade value. Whoa.
Yeah. That's a very interesting question because I can tell that he's a Sharks fan because he's watched the games, actually. I do watch a lot of Sharks games. Will Smith, pre-draft, I liked him, but I never loved him. And I think our listener, Flyby, has a point when he says that once Will Smith starts getting points and playing with Celebrini on the top line, he doesn't, he doesn't go full throttle all the time. And then you bring him down, and they did it last year, to the third line, the fourth line. Then he plays hard. Yeah. Then he gets back on the first line, and then, he makes points, and then, and he kind of disappears. So he always needs a kick in the butt. It shouldn't be the case because he's, I don't know if he's an elite talent, but he's obviously close to being an elite talent. He can be a point per game player. He can be one of the top, 30, 40 best players in the NHL. I'm just concerned about the lack of consistency and the fact that he always needs to be pushed. Now, trade value. I think Will Smith has a very high trade value right now.
Does he ever?
The question is, why would they trade a 20-year-old guy? I think teams have done it before for different reasons. Sometimes it's because the player is often injured, or you don't trust that he's going to progress, or there's a million reasons. I think in the case of Will Smith, my first choice would be to keep him around and have him play with Celebrini. But if I get calls, I would listen. I would listen for Will Smith more than I would listen, let's say, for Michael Misa. Michael Misa, I think, can be an elite number 2 center in the NHL. We're talking about elite number 2 centerman. I think Michael Misa can be an elite number 2 center. It would be a fantastic, cup-worthy 1-2 punch with Celebrini. Yep. Will Smith, he was a center at first. They don't play him at center anymore. He plays on the wing, which is okay, but he kind of loses a little bit of his value, diminishes his value a little bit. I would listen. But the return would have to include a top young defenseman.
Yeah, that's
what they need. Because at some point, the teams have to use a position of strength to fill out holes where they are not strong. And the Sharks, obviously right now, I like Sam Dickinson, but to me is not like a top caliber number 1 defenseman, let's say. I think he's a very good number 2. The Habs, the Sharks might draft a defenseman this year, but if you can get a top young defenseman for Will Smith, I would listen. He's the guy to trade, let's say. If you're going to trade one forward, he's the guy to trade. William Eklund too, but William Eklund, I don't think has his trade value is not that of a top young defenseman, because I think most people see him as a second line winger, and second line winger, they don't have a sky high trade value. So that's my thing on Will Smith. If Mr. Flyby wants to comment on my response, feel free to do it. Feel free to do it. I mean, that's my take on Will Smith.
Wow, that'd be jarring, but hey, crazier things have happened. So, wow, that's really interesting. Thank you for the question, Flyby, and again, chime in as well. And we invite everybody to send in your questions for the mailbag and topic recommendations as well. We'd like to take those into consideration. Snake, this was a big show, but I think we did it well. You know what? We committed to it. We did it well, and we have our answers. Anything else to add before we get out of here?
Well, on Thursday, we're going to have an interesting show because the Frozen Four starts. Yeah. Also, the first round will be over in Canadian Junior Leagues.
A lot of sweeps.
Yes, on Monday, my team, the team I work for, Gatineau, it's 3-3 in the series. We were losing 3-0. It's 3-all in the series. Who knows what's going to happen? We're going to Rouyn-Noranda on Tuesday night. Big surprise because we finished 16th out of 18. Are we going to pull the upset? I don't know, but it's fun moments for the guys. I think it's good for next year because we have a very young team. We have like 10 players under the age of 18. I think it's going to be good. We're going to talk about this. Also, lots of NHL debuts to talk about.
Absolutely.
Nice goal. Queen in the American Hockey League in San Diego. So I'm gonna hit the video button, and I'm gonna watch all these guys this week. Interesting debuts, and we're gonna talk about this on Thursday.
Oh, I'm excited.
What happens during the week? Maybe another firing or something.
Listen, the NHL it's bonkers, cutthroat, always something happening. So yes, we will be back on Thursday with plenty to talk about. We hope you're all there to tag along the ride with us. But until then, he is Simon, the Snake Boisvert. Thank you to producer Jimmy back at Master Control. I'm producer Shayne. This has been another edition of the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. See you Thursday.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.